I'm Diane Hall with AARP Missouri, and I'd like to welcome you to Yoga with Tyler. This is the second class in an 8-week series that will run through November the 17th. Now, this yoga series is part of AARP Missouri's Moving It Fitness series. And if this is your first time joining us or your first time in any yoga class, do not worry. You'll easily be able to follow the moves and positions because our instructor gives excellent explanations and cues. Now, our class is suitable for many levels of fitness. However, you know your own limitations. Please do not try to go beyond what you know is right for you. If you have any concerns at all, please check with your doctor before participating in this or any other AARP fitness offering. AARP Missouri also does offer other live fitness classes. Bar Rumba and Forever Fit are both live, but we also have links to past programs like Zumba Light and Movement for Life. You can participate in those from the recordings. You can find the links to the current, past, and upcoming programs at aarp.org/movingit. All of our programming is created with people 50 plus in mind, but it's good for anyone of any age, anywhere, and apparently at any time. AARP hopes that our fitness classes like yoga will be great options for anybody who may not be able to or who may be hesitant to attend a traditional fitness class, like a caregiver or someone who has health reasons or someone who just wants the convenience of working out from home. In addition to our online fitness classes, AARP also has resources for caregivers, up-to-date COVID-19 information and technology information on our website, aarp.org/nearyou. So let's get started with yoga. Our instructor is Tyler Ferguson. Tyler, take us away.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our second in a series of 8 classes using yoga asana to explore our 7 main energetic centers. These energetic points correspond to important physical nerve networks, glands, organs, and tissues related to these areas. And contemplating these locations in the human body through this yoga movement can actually hint at their energetic and psychological functions, as those often share a similar essence. So to review, last week we talked a little bit about our root energetic center, located near our sacrum and down at our sit bones. That center related to our survival and getting our basic needs, as well as feeling grounded and connected to the earth. Today, we're going to move just above that root energetic center to our sacral energetic center. So if you put your hands on that hard, bony prominence of your hip, and then slide your hands sort of down into that fleshy area just above the pubic bone, that's kind of the area in the spine that we're talking about, or in the spinal column, that energetic area. And it wouldn't be surprising that there's a lot of nerve endings there that relate to our reproductive organs. So in that root energetic center, we dealt with our organs of elimination. So moving slightly up, we're moving into the reproductive organs. This area is closely related to our hips and our low back still. So any movement in that area of the body. And then emotionally, this area is associated with our emotions, with our feelings, our desires, and our creativity. This is an area that influences our creativity. So health in this area is instrumental in developing flexibility in our life, in our emotions, and in our attitudes. The other thing is this area corresponds with the water element. Last week, the root chakra, our energetic center, connected to the earth element. Think of the water element this week and fluidity, the fluidity and water and the fluidity and moving in and out of difficult times in life. So we'll begin today in easy pose. We're going to begin every week in easy pose. Easy pose is your seated pose. So for some, you might sit on a chair and that's fine. For others, we're going to explore sitting on the ground. Now, you're totally welcome to elevate the hips with a prop, or you're welcome to place your back against a wall or a couch or something that supports your back. And then Diane and I were talking yesterday about how our architecture, our structure, sometimes needs just a little bit of shimming, right? So these props can be our shims to make us comfortable in this position. So again, meeting yourself exactly where you are, using whatever aids necessary to find comfort in your seated position, knowing that a chair is okay too. If you're in a chair, get your feet grounded into the floor. I'm going to let you find your seated position, but for those of us that are already seated, start to notice where the very bottom of your sit bones connect to the surface that you're sitting on. And I like to just rock back and forth a couple times. It looks like this from your perspective, and feel that strongest connection, the place where I'm most strongest rooted. You can visualize roots growing down in the ground and stabilizing you so you can lift and lengthen up through the spine. You're welcome to close your eyes at this point or continue looking at the screen. And I'm going to invite you to participate in a little breath exercise. Just inhaling and exhaling through your nose if possible. Inhaling through the nose. Feeling the air pass over the back of the throat if that's possible. And then the same path, exhaling through the nose. If any point, keep breathing. If at any point it's difficult to exhale through the nose and you feel like you have to open your mouth, feel free to do that. As you explore inhaling and exhaling through the nose, take your left hand and place it down on your belly. Spread the fingers wide so you can really feel your belly as you breathe. And bring your right hand and place it over your heart or over your chest. Yoga can just be the radical observation. So right now, just observe which hand expands or moves, or do they expand or move at all when you breathe? Inhale. And exhale. Spend about 2 more rounds of breath, just observing which hand moves. Observation, taking in that information. And then after your third breath, see if you can direct the air to make your bottom or your left hand, your lower hand, move out and expand out more. By doing this, we're opening up the lowest lobes of the lung, breathing deep. This is called deep belly breathing. And of course, you're not breathing into your belly. But by breathing into those lowest lobes of the lungs, you can feel the belly expanding out. See if you can continue with this breath and not have the chest move at all. Can you breathe just into the belly and keep the chest relaxed? I'll give you time to try this 3 more times. After your third breath, take in this breathing exercise we did today. And this is a great exercise to practice on your own, just this deep belly breathing. After your third round of breath, you can remove the hands from the chest and thighs and open up your eyes. And I'd like for you, if your legs are crossed, to cross your legs in the other direction. So sometimes that can feel a little uncomfortable and wonky. So power of radical observation. How does this feel? Do you need to make adjustments? From here, open up your palms, lengthen through the elbows. Inhale the arms up as far as it feels comfortable and safe in your shoulders. And exhale your arms down. Now here's what I want you to do with this movement. Continue inhaling up and down, but I don't want you to follow me. I want you to turn your awareness inside. And I want you to feel the arms lift up on your inhale. And don't feel like you need to lower your arms until you're ready for your exhale. So as a class, we shouldn't be in sync. We should all be moving at different speeds. And I want to encourage you to be unique in your practice and meet you exactly where you are. If you move more quickly or more slowly, that's your experience. After the third time, let's pause with our hands down and place the hands on top of the knees and pull your heart forward. So we're going to do a little cat-cow here. So pull your heart forward, arch your back, lift your eye gaze, and you may have rolled off your sit bones more onto your pubic bone. Inhale here. On your exhale, push your back to the back of the room, cave in your heart, draw your chin to your chest, and roll back across your sits bones, maybe more on the sacrum. Take a breath here. Inhale, exhale, pull yourself into your seated cat pose. So we've done cat-cow from hands and knees, but we haven't done it from our seat before. Slightly lift the eye gaze, the chin opens up, the pelvis rotates forward. And when you're ready, using your breath, move and round into your seated cat pose. Rounding your back or your spine to the back of the room, tucking the tail more. Notice this is a tail tucked position, chin into chest. One more time, inhale. Cow pose. Heart draws forward, eye gaze lifts, throat opens. Exhale, round the spine, closing the heart in, opening up the back of the heart, rolling back to the sacrum. And then bring yourself forward. Now lift and lengthen through the spine and sit nice and tall. Just for a second, whatever leg is on top, see if you can bring that leg up and in a little bit. And you can hold on to it either around the knee and then across the shin and start to bring it in and give some little movements. You can reach underneath and hug it in. So you don't have to look like me. Remember, just meet yourself where you are. Just see if you can have an exploration, just some movement with that top leg. Pause with me. Notice if you started to collapse and round in the spine. Lift and lengthen through the spine as you play with the leg. Continue to breathe. Only do as much as it feels good. Nice, guys. Great. I can see some of you. That's such a joy. Place that leg down. And then take your bottom leg, bring it on top, get nice and tall, and then scoop that bottom leg up in whatever way is most convenient for you to bring that leg up. I like to support the foot if possible and cradle the knee. And that allows me to find some movements. And then notice what's happening in the spine as you do this movement. If you start to collapse and shorten, yeah? So lift and lengthen. So think about always making a lot of room in the front or in the belly area between the ribs and the top of the hips for your organs. Yeah. All right. Now place that leg down and let the bottoms of the feet find each other. You'll notice I have my hips pretty elevated today. Let the bottoms of the feet find each other. If this is super uncomfortable, find those shims and bring the shims in. There's no shame in shimming. Or otherwise, maybe just sit and relax here. Don't worry so much about the thighs first. Let's just work on that spine a little bit. Again, lifting and lengthening the spine. If my hips aren't elevated, this is super challenging for me without putting my back against the wall. So think only good thoughts, meet yourself exactly where you are. From here, you can start to energetically draw the knees downward to the ground, opening up just a little bit more. You don't have to. It's just an offering if that feels better to you. Notice if you tend to come forward, can you lift and lengthen through the spine? To exit out of this pose, I invite you to cup your knees and just gently guide your knees up and in, and then we'll transition into our tabletop position. So you can move your props, clear your area, and come to hands and knees. Spread your fingers nice and wide in your tabletop position. And I like to, last week we talked about opening up the front of the hips. So I want you to do that with these elbow creases. So they're going to face each other and the elbows are going to bend a little bit. And then I want you to kind of corkscrew them so that they rotate front a little bit. So play around with that. Little bend, little corkscrew. As you lengthen through the arms in that corkscrew, think about your shoulders sliding down away from the ears towards your hips. And you might feel your lats turn on. Once the lats are on, just take one more cow pose from this tabletop position. Exhale round, one more cat pose. Push the arms away from this tabletop position. Come back to your neutral spine. Put your big toes together. Take your knees nice and wide and send the hips back to the heels as much as it's comfortable. Different people have different flexion. And then start to bring your head and chest down to the floor. Child's pose. If you can take your eyes off the screen and feel this pose in your body, that's best. If you're unable to let your head rest on the ground, you could come up and look at me and consider bringing in any prop is fine here. So a big pillow can feel juicy and yummy here. Or if you have a cookbook or a yoga block, and you can rest your head there. Let's see if you can completely let go and relax in this pose. One more time, see if you can direct the breath right down into the belly. Notice where it lands. And then pull yourself up out of this pose into your tabletop once again. Do your little arm screw. Last week, we worked on bringing the knee to the elbow. So right knee, I'm going to draw my navel up into my spine, lift my right knee, tap my right elbow, and place it down. Looks like this. Right knee, tap, place it down. Once you see what we're doing, get your neck neutral, take your eye gaze down to the mat, little tap, and bring it down. After your third one, pause. Let's bring the right foot outside the right hand. So you start by driving the knee towards the elbow and then stepping the foot. Now you can look at the screen. For some of you, maybe your foot only landed right here. That's fine. Pick up your foot, help it get there. Bam. So now we're in this kneeling position. If you have some props or some blocks nearby, use them. Get your spine longer. You don't have to be miserable here. Go ahead and get comfortable. And then just start some gentle movements from this position. Now, you'll notice that when I arrived here, my right ankle is pretty directly under my right knee. A common mistake is for this foot to be too far back and my knee is going way in front of my toes. I don't want that. I want to open up here, knee over ankle. So when I move forward, see how my knee really doesn't travel over my toes? In the back leg, I'm trying to stretch out the front of the shin so my toes are down. Good. Come to neutral here. Let's open up the hip, the left hip or the hip of the knee that's down. Push through the foot, the heel that's on the ground, and push through the top of the back foot. Draw navel to spine. Find that external rotation in the hips and rise up. Good. Now I want you to really rise up. So take your hands and place them on the hips. Notice if your pelvis is tilted, get your pelvis in neutral and then open up, press and open up the front of the hip of the knee that's down. Firm the glute in the rear to support that. Lift and lengthen through the spine. Create space between the rib and the top of the hip. For some of you, that might be enough. For others, it might feel better to lift the arms up. That'll add a little bit more sensation. Breathe, keep firming the glute of the hip you're opening up. Exhale your arm down to the side. Now watch this little change we're going to make here. This foot that's forward, I want you to bring it to the side. So you might see that it's like a warrior pose. I'll show it one more time. We're going from toes forward to toes to the side. And my heel and my knee are lined up. In this back leg, this foot can flare out a little bit. See how that flared out? Now, look down and contemplate the shape that we're in. Looks a lot like a warrior shape, right? Bam, don't do this. I'm just showing you. Warrior. We're just doing a modified warrior, okay? Don't stand up. I'm sorry, I was just showing you. So we're working on this sacral chakra area. So we're gonna really organize this warrior, or this area in our warrior strengths. Feel the front heel, the right heel under the knee. Send this hip forward. Another thing that happens in warriors sometimes is we tend to cock the rear hip up and fly in our warriors. So bring your shoulders over the hips Send the rear hip forward and firm that glute. And then notice this knee. Look down. You should see your big toe just inside the knee. A common misalignment here is for the knee to collapse in. So pull it open, hands going to hips, nice warrior stance. From here, the same side of the body that the knee is out, rest that arm down. Stay long through the spine. Send your opposite arm up and then reach long and over. This is a modified side angle pose. For most, this is probably enough. Notice if you collapsed here again, send that hip forward, lift and lengthen out of this left side. For some, you might reach down to the floor, but that can be pretty intense. So don't feel like you have to do it. It's just an offering. Breathe while you're here. Press down with that back foot. On an exhale, bring yourself back up. Take your left hand, put it on your hip, and reverse it. Take your right arm now, reach up, come into a little bend the other direction. Inhale, exhale, lower your hands down to the floor, and take your right leg back down. Look, we're in tabletop. Take a little cat and a little cow. Big toes together, knees wide, send your hips back and rest in child's pose. Now I'm going to sit up and talk to you, but I want you to be in your version of child's pose that works for you. Take the observation inward and just notice what's coming up for you in that pose. If you feel tingly, if you feel fatigued from that work, just bring it all in, take it all in. From child's pose, walk your fingertips forward, press the pads of the fingers in the ground, pull yourself back up into tabletop. Corkscrew and pack the arms. And the left knee is going to come to the left elbow. Draw your belly button into your spine. Knee comes in and back down. Knee comes in and back down. We're just getting used to using our core, the front of our belly, to bring that foot forward, training that pattern. After 3 times, this time step. Draw the knee towards the elbow and then plant the foot. If it doesn't arrive there, that's okay. Pick it up and get it there. So we're in our low lunge position. Bring in any props that feel good to you, and then start to move back and forth in this 90-90 lunge. Again, when you start this movement, knee right over ankle. In the back foot, top of the foot is fully extended, stretching through the shin. After a few little movements forward and back, come to your 90-90. See, look in the screen. I got a 90-degree angle at the knee, 90-degree angle here, hit the foot. Press into your front foot, firm that glute, press into the back foot, firm that glute, draw navel to spine, rise up. Place your hands on your hips, make your hips even or neutral. And notice when the hips go neutral, you get that nice, delicious stretch and elongation of the leg that's back or the knee that's down. Pitch that space forward and firm the glute to support that space coming forward. For some, just hanging out right here, staying grounded through that foot, keeping the glute turned on is enough. For others, you might reach your arms up, creating some space between the rib cage and the pelvis. Breathe into that space you've created. Just trying to show you different angles. And then bring your hands down either to your blocks or your props or the floor. Take that front foot now and turn it out to the side for your warrior prep. Toes are forward, you just turn it out to the side. Take a look, the heel is going to line up with your back knee. And then in this back side, the foot just flares out a little bit. Rise up and begin to feel your warrior legs on this side, modified warrior legs because our knee is down. You'll notice this hip's in a little bit of internal rotation. This hip is in that external rotation. Make sure that the knee is tracking right over the toes. And to support that alignment, open up the hip of the rear leg, give your glute a little squeeze, and bring the shoulders right above the hips. And elevate your arms up, feeling that warrior pose, even taking your eye gaze to look out over the front fingers. Drop the left elbow now down on the left thigh. Lift and lengthen through the spine as you tilt. Reach your right arm up. And notice as the right arm moves, that's a lever. So see how the intensity changes as the right arm begins to move from the back of the room to the front of the room? So that's like your gas pedal, right? If this is too intense, back off the gas pedal. Take the arm out of it. Or if you want more, bam, 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 you can really reach shoulders up into the ears and drive those fingers to the opposite wall. So this is your journey, how much you want to feel this modified side angle pose. Option to bring the hand down to the floor, to the fingertips, to a block to get deeper in the pose. Opening up your chest, breathing here. Come back up. Exhale your long arm down to your waist. Take your opposite arm. Inhale it up. You're just getting a nice little stretch on the opposite side of your body. Keep the front of that hip open. Try not to collapse, sending your hips back. And then exhale, arm back down. Bring yourself back to the floor. Come back into your tabletop shape. Find a little bit of cat-cow. But this time in your cat-cow, go ahead and curl the toes under. So we've been working with the tops of the feet down. Now curl them under in your cat-cow. And then notice, spread your toes wide and notice if you can feel the bottoms of your feet stretching out, maybe the fascia getting a little bit of stretch. Come to neutral in your spine. Corkscrew your arms into the ground, pat your shoulders, draw belly button to spine, hover the knees. 3, 2, 1, lower the knees down to the mat. Now we're going to move to downward facing dog. So downward facing dog is a pose where your head is going to be below your heart. If there's a reason your head shouldn't be below your heart, then just come to standing. Otherwise, stay with me in mapping out this downward dog. This time, corkscrew impact, navel to spine, hover knees. With the knees hovered, send the hips back just a little bit. And then lower the knees back down. That's part 2 of downward dog. This time we're going to lift into the full dog. Corkscrew impact the shoulders, navel up into the spine, hover the knees, send hips back a little bit, and then lift your hips up. Bend your knees a whole lot here and take your feet pretty wide. Stop looking at the screen. Let your head hang super heavy. You want to be looking back at your toes, your ankles, or through your legs to the wall behind you. Spread your fingers nice and wide. It's up to you. You can come to your knees at any moment you want to in this pose, and then just get right back up into it. Don't feel like you have to stay here just because I'm coaching you in this pose. I'm pedaling my feet, and we'll unpack pedaling more in another class. For today, walk your hands backwards towards your feet. Feel free to bring in a prop to bring the ground closer to you. Put your weight into your heels. Bend your knees a lot. We'll come into that forward fold. If you feel like you might be getting dizzy, just bring your head above your heart from this forward fold. If you don't like being upside down so much. All right. In fact, everybody, let's just bring our head above our heart here. Try to flatten out our back. Take an inhale here. Notice I'm using a prop to show that you can use or not use. You can even use a chair here. Inhale. Exhale, a little roundness in the spine again. Drive through your heels. Feel the heels connect to the earth. Turn on your glute muscles and rise up nice and slow. If you feel dizzy, just sit right back down. Otherwise, drive through the heels as you stand up. Send your hips forward. Firm the glutes to support, opening up through the hips. Reach up through the arms and exhale your arms down to the sides. Mountain pose. Last week we worked our mountain pose. Toes forward, hips open in neutral, firming this pose, and shoulders down and away. Just take a moment to breathe in your mountain pose. Feel all the activations we covered last week, crushing that ball together with our inner thighs, or tearing the knees apart. Whatever activations help you feel this mountain pose. Inhale the arms up, reach overhead. Exhale, hands down in front of the face, Anjali Mudra or prayer shape with the hands. Let's practice toe and heel. We want to get to a wide or straddle stance here. So we're going to toe heel our legs wide as it feels safe for you. And then your last toe will flare out a little bit. So normally I have you track your toes forward. On this one, you can turn them out or bring your heels in a little bit. We're going to work on bending our knees and having them track right over our toes. So if you've done a sumo squat before, that's what it feels like, lower down. We're just going to come out of it, give you a chance to go into it, come out of it. This is called goddess pose. So feel that sacral or that second energetic center. And then notice as you move in and out of this goddess pose, where the energy is in this channel along the body. Can you begin to collect the energy by slightly lifting on the pelvic floor, slightly drawing the navel to the spine to keep your back strong and in alignment here? So a common tendency is to go forward. We don't want that. We want to slide our back down along a wall. If that's feeling safe to you, let's go ahead and hang out there. So slide down into your safe expression of goddess pose, pulling the knees out wide, outside edges of the feet. Maybe you can play around with being light in the toes. You can find some gentle movements here. Always come out of this if you don't want to stay this long. Just offering a little bit longer expression of this pose. Inhale. Exhale, stand up nice and tall. Let the front of the hips open, firm the glutes, and then turn the toes forward. What I meant to say was you could have used your chair to help you for balance that one. I apologize for not bringing in the chair. But we're going to do wide-legged forward bend. So you might want the chair in this one. I'll just show you how it can be used. So we're still wide in our feet. Hands go on the hips. Press the ground apart a little bit. Feel the inner thighs come on. And then send your hips back behind your heels as you begin to flatten out your back. And then pause when your head and your heart are in about the same place. Take your eye gaze down to the floor and lengthen through the back of your neck. No wrinkles in the front or the back of your neck. Now, for some, that could be enough. You might feel a lot of stretch in your hamstrings. Feel free to take the hands off the hip and rest them on a chair, or take the hands off the hips and reach for the floor. You can draw your chest closer to the floor if you can be in an inversion. This is an inversion. And you can round your spine and let your head start to hang super, super heavy. Again, looking back between your legs at the wall behind you. Listen to me for the exit from this pose. With your head hanging heavy, lift your eye gaze and then start to hinge or elongate through the spine and bring the head at the same height of the heart and the hips. Take the hands off the floor, place them back on the hips, eye gaze down to the floor. Feel the weight in your heels, draw navel to spine, and hinge all the way back. And then wide-legged forward fold. Good. Open up the front of the hips one last time. Crush the feet together energetically. And to exit, be nice and patient. Heels in, toes in, heels in, toes in. Yeah. So super safe exit out of that pose. Let's work on our balance pose for the week. If you'd like to bring in your chair or a wall or anything for balance, we'll start in mountain pose. Full extension in the hips. I'm going to shift my weight to my left leg, peel up my right heel, firm that left glute, get nice and long in the left leg. And then I'm going to bring my knee up to my chest. I'm going to turn so you can see me. Now you might stay here. You might take your opposite hand and pull it up or hook and pull it in, but it's just standing knee to chest pose. If you want to play with your balance and take both hands, you can do that, but it's certainly okay to find your touch for your balance. Lift and lengthen through the spine. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Exhale, place that foot down, and then shift your weight. Feel yourself ground back into the earth to make any changes that you might need to make to your props. Maybe the chair is on the other side. It's always nice just to have this here so you can feel like you can go deeper in the pose. Mountain pose. Hips come forward. Firm the glutes to support that. Peel up the leg that's going to elevate. Peel up the heel. Ground down through your base foot. And then begin to draw the knee up. Maybe that's it for you today. Maybe you can encourage your knee to come up higher or closer into your chest with your opposite arm. And if you want to practice balancing, you can, but it's not necessary. We like to say, God isn't in this expression of the pose, right? Just wherever you are, meet yourself where you are. Good. Notice you have a tendency to collapse or pitch, the knee bends, stand tall in the pose, breathe. Exhale, put your foot down. Nice work, yogis. Good stuff. Let's make our way down to the floor. Clear your mat. Come to the top of your mat. Mountain pose one more time. Circle sweep your arms up. Look up, lift up, top of your mat. Exhale, bring your hands down to your hips. Tilt, find your forward fold. Knees can bend here. Remember, knees can bend here. Plant your hands on the mat and step back and find your tabletop position. Good work, yogis. Send your hips just a little bit forward. So notice my hips aren't stacked over my knees. They're coming a little bit forward. Can you find that corkscrew in the arms? How about bending the elbow straight back and lowering 2 inches? Inhale, lower. Exhale, press up. Woo, that's hard. Now listen, inhale here. Exhale, lower yourself down to your belly. Great work, yogis. From your belly, bring your elbow right under your shoulder. And as you start to come up, draw your navel up into your spine and send your tail long to your heels. So I don't know if you can see my body with this black mat, but we're on our bellies. We don't want to feel compression in our low back here. Yeah, shadow is messing me up, isn't it? So we don't want to feel compression right here or tightness. So you want to think of lengthen the spine. So start to pull your heart through your arms as you draw your navel into your spine and as you firm your glutes. Take your eye gaze forward, not looking at the screen, and just feel this little bit of length in your spine. This is called Sphinx pose. It's a nice way to put your back into extension. So this is the opposite pose for forward rounding at the desk all day. Let's lower our chest back down to the floor. Change your hand position so that your hand's next to your rib cage, just under your armpits. And let's play with the elbows. Let your forehead rest on the ground. Pull your elbows down to your toes. See what that feels like. And release. Pull your elbows toward one another like they're going to meet in the middle of the back. And release. Now do both. Pull them down and in. Maintain that feeling. Pull the navel to the spine. Firm the glutes. Slightly lift your forehead off the floor. Slightly peel up your shoulders. Keep firming the glutes. Draw your belly button in. Tiny little cobra pose here. Back extension, lower back down. This time we're going to push up under our hands and knees, but the same order. Elbows down and in, navel to spine, squeeze glutes. Inhale, lift head, lift shoulders, peel up, push through the hands onto the knees, and send your hips back into your child's pose. One breath in your child's pose. After your breath, pull yourself back up to your tabletop, and let's come to a seated position. From the seated position, again, whenever you're working on the floor, you can always bring in something to elevate the hips, even if it's a blanket from the couch. I'm going to elevate my hips here, and then we're going to just take our legs wide. So even that can feel good for some, and it can be a bit of a challenge to get the legs wide without collapsing in the spine. So I want you to work on that first. Find a width that feels good for you, but that you can lift and lengthen. When I say lift and lengthen of the spine, I always think about my ribs and my pelvis. And I want to create space there. Good. Now look down at your legs and notice if the toes are facing out. Can you rotate the toes up to the ceiling? And then notice where your ankles are. Can you dorsiflex or pull your toes back to your shins? So that might be a lot of sensation, right? Maybe push through the heels or push through that space below the knees down into the ground. Lift and lengthen through the spine. Think about your belly button walking to the floor. So don't round your spine. This is a flat back. I'm going to show you from a different angle, but just walk until you get enough sensation. I'll show it from this angle. The back is flat as I come forward, as opposed to trying to get there from here. Pull your heart forward, and then walk forward, then just hang out. You can bring props in to support this. Might be feeling this in the hamstrings a little bit. Make sure you're breathing. And then after your chest or your belly button goes as forward as it can, you can begin to round a little bit then. Just don't initiate with the round. And walk yourself back up. Sit up nice and tall. Close the legs together. Pull your right knee into your chest. And then take your right hand, put it back behind your right seat, like so. And then rotate and turn toward the knee that is lifted. You can hug the knee in to facilitate this turn and this twist. And notice if the shoulder is forward or up, pull it down and away. Now for some, this is right where you are in the twist. For others, you might even be able to hook and get a little bit deeper. Try not to grind into the shape, just relax. And then carefully release, slowly come out and switch. Send your opposite leg long, pull your opposite knee in. Take that hand of the knee that's in, reach up and back. Plant it down and start to rotate your rib cage toward the knee that's bent. You can hug into that knee to help you stay rotated. Just facilitating this little twist. Or you can go deeper by taking the elbow to the opposite side. Lift and lengthen through the spine. Feel the rib cage rotate on the axis of the spine. Breath in and out. Rotate back to the center. And then undo your legs. Well, actually bend both legs. And then let's carefully bring ourselves down to the floor. Bend your knees one last time. Place your feet firmly on the ground. Arms going to release or lengthen down by your side. Take your eye gaze off this computer screen and make sure you're looking at the ceiling at this point so your neck is neutral. Press your feet in the ground. Lift your hips up to the ceiling. So we've been cueing for the last few weeks of opening up the front of the hips, firming our glutes to support that. Feel the spine peel up until you're on your spine just between the shoulders. So you're not on your neck. You don't want to have weight in your neck. You want it to be in the thoracic spine between the shoulder blades. Breathe in. One last time, lower your hips back down to the ground. And it's time for our final relaxation, our shavasana or our rest. You can stay right here with the feet bent. You can elongate and stretch out if you want. You can roll over onto the side if you want. Let your feet fall open. Let yourself be as comfortable as possible. Close your eyes, particularly if you're looking at an overhead light. Allow the breath to become shallow and unforced. If you feel a little bit of tension or pull in the low back and your legs are elongated, just try bending the knees and bringing the bottoms of your feet on the ground. Lift your hips, pull them towards your heel. That's what my back was telling me. And just stay there with your knees bent. Let your eyebrows relax, your eyeballs relax. Relax your jaw by pulling the tongue away from the roof of the mouth and the teeth. Slightly separate the teeth and the lips. Allow more skin to touch the earth. Just relax. And every unthought about, unforced exhale is just a release. When considering the second energetic center, the center for creativity, the center for pleasure, a mantra you can tell yourself is, I am at peace. Imagining the waves moving in and out with your inhales and exhales. The fluidity of movement of the water. Using that as a metaphor for the fluidity of movement in your life as you move from emotion to emotion, from situation to situation. Finding movements in your fingers and toes. Let's begin to emerge from our final relaxation. Wiggling wrists and ankles. If your knees aren't already bent, consider placing the feet on the ground and bending the knees. You might even lift the feet off the ground and draw the knees into the chest, giving yourselves a hug, and roll over to one side. From your side body position, let your head rest. In this fetal position, take one more breath, and then use your top hand to push into the ground and help you come to a seated position. We'll end class just where we started, in our seated, rooted pose. Notice if you have a dominant leg that likes to be on top. Connect to the earth one more time through the sits bones and reach for the sky through the crown of the head, creating length in the spine. It's a pleasure and an honor to get to share this practice with you. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you next week.